thanks for joining us today. So as you know, as we discussed in the past, we wanted to focus on two major topics today. One is the marketing strategy related. The other one is about team building, team marketing, team building. Uh, the first one is inbound versus outbound. Could you explain when it's more appropriate to use inbound marketing strategies versus outbound strategies? What are the criteria or factors that you consider when you decide between the two?
Sure. So thank you for including me in your project. I will try to answer the question in a short way because this is obviously a big question. And these days, I'm working with a private equity company, and I'm being exposed to so many companies, and I see the confusion between inbound and outbound and what each company needs to do in order to win their audiences. And obviously, this is a big topic, and I can tell you that there's a chaos out there. I mean, I see companies that their product and their offering is built for inbound, and they do outbound, and vice versa. So let's try to kind of distinguish between these two different words, because it's all start with offering. What the product or the services, what the company has to offer to their customers. And I think this is the starting point, because there's one side of the equation. Let's take, for example, B2B SaaS companies. If the product basically is geared towards large enterprises, large companies, and the type of offering basically bring value to the decision makers, then it makes sense to target the decision makers, right? But you need to take in consideration that those decision makers, they don't Google too often. They don't choose their offering, by Googling the type of products out there. They go to Gartner. They speak with other industry leaders. They go to events. They still go to events these days. So if the company really targets decision makers within large organization, obviously the inbound marketing will be less effective, because you need to create the awareness. You need to create a third-party validation, for example, Gartner or other channels that basically will target these decision makers from the awareness side of the equation. There is a market. There are many solutions, but the product offering is better than other because X, Y, and Z. And so let's put this in the bucket of outbound. And I do meet with companies like this, and their first question they ask is, how can we improve our organic search or our inbound? And then I need to explain them, but you target the decision makers. It's less, obviously SEO is always important, but it's less relevant that you generate inbound. It's more important than you create enough awareness for your product offering and for your company in order for these decision makers to notice that you exist and you basically provide a better service or better offering, right? And when I have discussion with marketing leaders within this organization, they finally understand that the go-to-market should be consist of ABM, account-based marketing, and not too heavy on SEO and media buy, etc. And on the other side, if we look at the other type of marketing, there are companies, regardless if the market already exists or not. This is a different dimension. But going back to B2B platforms, in many cases, like mainly in security, in DevOps, it doesn't make sense always to target the decision maker, because at the end of the day, there are the users within these companies who needs to qualify and find and optimize their work. So these audiences, they normally go search, they go to Reddit, they read about what other users in their space are doing and choosing and building. So if we know that our company should start with the users, allowing them to qualify the product and the offering, and only then move forward to the decision maker and make sure that we can go in, then it makes sense to rely on inbound marketing, specifically PLG, product-led growth, where we basically target the users. We allow them to register to our product and self-evaluate it, or even offer them to help them evaluate. But the most important thing here is that we allow them to find the solution. We allow them to test the solution. Most users, specifically on the IT side, they like to choose their own tools. They like to test their own tools. So we need to make sure that all the marketing journey is around the ability to make the product searchable by these audiences, by these users, offer them the ability to self-evaluate the product. And then once we get them in the door, we need to also to build the mechanism, or the marketing machine needs to be optimized to make sure that we kind of know exactly what they do in each step during their evaluations. So we know exactly when is the critical point that we need to send the troops and try to convert, whether it's SDRs or inside sales or account executives, etc. It depends on the company and the offering and the sales cycle.
So
So
that's like the product-based marketing funnel that you've built in Cloudify, like that we've witnessed.
Exactly.
Yes.
In Cloudify, after almost 3 years where we try to create, to engage and create conversation with decision makers, mainly the director or the VP of infrastructure. We realized that we don't have any we don't have the right footprint or the right awareness to fight the big companies out there like VMware's or IBM, etc. We knew we had a better product, better technology. So we realized that in order to really win these accounts, we first need to make sure that the users, the DevOps engineers, they find us, they start using the product. They realize how whatever they do in VMware in 2 weeks can be done in Cloudify in 2 minutes. And then once we notice that they start using the platform, at that point, we engage with them. And at the same time, we also attack the decision maker. And we try to create this bond between the user and the decision makers, but only after the user already experienced the product and appreciated the value. So most of our effort obviously was inbound marketing, make sure that they find us, make sure that in every channel, whether it's Google, whether it's LinkedIn using paid search, or more importantly, those IT channels that target these users, or like G2 or Reddit, etc. And our entire marketing machine was built to make sure that once they find us and start using our product, we then deliver the right content to make sure that they understand how to operate the product, and that they understand the value that the premium features can deliver if or once they're ready to move forward. So I think, again, if I try to summarize my answer, I think, first of all, all the companies out there, whether they offer product or even services, they first need to understand the competition, who they compete with. Because if you compete with IBM and you're a small company, obviously, the outbound effort will be meaningless, right? So you need to understand the target audience. You need to understand the competition, and then you're ready to build, the inbound versus outbound machines that will convert. Again, this is a short version of the full answer. Obviously, it's way more.
So if I summarize, so it's based on the persona of your target audience. If it's a big decision maker versus a influencer, an internal or kind of the chief leading technology champion, let's call them in the organization. And the second one is how your brand is positioned in the market. If you're a known brand versus if you're a newcomer, the technology level, the product itself, understanding the product's pros and cons and how it's positioned against the competition, not just the brand, but the product itself. So it's three different aspects that are important. Which actually brings me to the second question. So you've decided on a strategy, and now you're building the team. In recent years, we've seen a deterioration in the role of product marketing manager or the VP product marketing, or it kind of disappeared. Although it seems, at least from our point of view, as an agency working with many organizations, it seems like this has become a very important role in marketing as the kind of the quarterback of understanding the audiences, the product itself, the business sides and channels and so on. What is your take on that role, and why it is more important now, or is it more important now than it was before?
Yeah, so this is actually a good point for this discussion, because everything we mentioned before is to me is all about the product marketing. When I go and speak with our portfolio company, many of these companies, exactly like you described, tend to kind of like skip the product marketing role, or sometimes you find product marketing managers sitting in these companies, but they mainly dealing with content marketing. In other words, all the product is being packaged at the product department, working with engineering versus product marketing. And I can tell you that the more successful companies are those who understand that the role of the product marketing is very critical to the success of the company, regardless if it's an inbound or outbound go-to-market. And because there should be a bridge between engineering and product and the field or the rest of the marketing organization. And if you skip this bridge, then again, in reality, what's happening is that engineering and product are basically building the roadmap and the offering on their own. They provide, the description of what the product does or what it's going to do in the next, releases. But then it moves directly straight to the content marketing organization that basically just create the content out of these talking points and release them to the audiences. And I think this is a big fault, because to me, the most critical role in the marketing organization or in the go-to-market organization in general is the product marketing, because from one end, the product marketing is responsible to package the offering. It's not on the engineering or the product team. They need to plan different scenarios of, in respect to their capacity, what can be built in the near future. But the person or the entity or the group or the team that really needs to decide what's best for the market, what's going to help the company to convert more or to upsell more, is rely on basically the product marketing, because they should understand target audience. They should understand, the land process and the expand process. They should look at the competition and see what they do and how they basically position their offering or package their offering. And then once, and even not less important is even, pricing. I see too many companies where the pricing is being done in the sales organization or even the CFO office. And I think, again, it goes back to the product marketing that needs to understand the target audience, that needs to understand the competition, that needs to understand what it takes to sell as part of the land process, what it takes to upsell, what features or premium features are required in order to upsell, the existing customers, and then go back and shift left to engineering and say, this is what the market needs. Now let's plan, what's going to be released in the next, 12 or 36 months. So going back to your question, I think too many companies tend to skip this important and critical role, or even if they hire product marketing, they mainly let them do content creation. Less about everything I mentioned before, including the roadmap, the competition, the pricing, the package offering. This is the keyword. What the company has to offer should start in product marketing.